I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Zoe Crook, so I am on the marketing team here at International Programs, and I studied abroad in Costa Rica on our Spanish immersion program when I was at FSU. Yeah, so we're excited to talk to you, and I'll hand it over to Majel as well to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Majel Prue. I am the academic advisor here at International Programs. So I will be mostly walking you through how to use our website, the different kinds of programs that we have, and then of course answering any questions that you have at the end.
Awesome. And then you'll see also we have Michael Sussinger on screen. He's not really actively like presenting during this webinar, but he'll be kind of managing that um, Q&A section and answering some questions there. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started. First up, we have just a few slides to kind of talk about international programs in general. So we can go to the next slide here. Awesome. So in case you are a little bit unfamiliar with international programs and what we do, every day is an adventure when you're abroad. And I know that sounds like a little bit cheesy, but it's true. You're going to be going out into the city and exploring and just kind of having the adventure of a lifetime while you're there. And what this means at FSU is that you'll be earning FSU credit in a new location while immersing yourself in that culture. You'll have the opportunity to make lifelong friends and learn skills in cross-cultural communication. And then you'll have smaller class sizes. So today we're going to talk more about academics and how to pick a program and navigate our website and all of that. But when you're abroad, it's not going to be just like sitting on a Zoom call or like watching a PowerPoint like you are now. It's going to be like going out into the city and having those experiences, talking to your professors, making those like fostering those relationships with them, and having that enhanced educational experience. And then FSU International Programs is consistently ranked in the top 15 universities for study abroad, and we've been doing this for over 65 years. We can go on to the next slide. Just a quick overview of our main locations. We have three study center locations and one branch campus. So those study centers are owned and operated by FSU. That's going to be Florence, Italy, London, England, and Valencia, Spain. And then we have a branch campus where students can go from FSU in Tallahassee or from all over America and directly enroll in that Panama City, Panama campus. And then we also have a variety of other locations, mostly offered over the summer. So we're going to talk a little bit about summer programs today and the differences in those types of programs. But all of these study center locations have classrooms, libraries, computer labs, FSU staff and faculty. And then those other locations are going to be with partner programs and led by FSU faculty from the campus here in Tallahassee. We can go on to the next slide. So like I said, we have those other kind of locations, but just to highlight a little bit of that, these are offered over the summer, and a couple on spring break, which you can also apply to. Those applications are open now, but for summer, which we're talking about today, this is going to help fulfill that summer residency requirement. So if you're able to take enough credits, you'll be able to do that and check that off. We have opportunities to take classes at local universities, be immersed in a language, experience global industries. So there's a lot of different sort of focused programs on different curriculums for your major or minor. And we'll kind of guide you through like how to find all of these programs and learn more about them beyond just the ones that you typically think of, like Valencia, Florence, London. All right, next slide. So just before we get into the academics and Majel really takes it over, I want to just highlight a couple things that you'll gain when you study abroad with international programs. Because study abroad is more than just the classes you'll take and the travel you'll do, it's also going to be, you know, those lifelong friends that you're going to make along the way. So even if you don't know anyone when you get on that plane, you're going to make connections with a diverse group of friends that are gonna, you know, be abroad with you and then come back to Tallahassee and you'll have that like built-in community where you made these sort of core memories together. So you'll be able to experience another culture, make those memories and expand your global perspective. And then of course, like we were talking about earlier, you'll be able to immerse in an academic environment in the city where it really becomes your classroom. Your professors are going to take you out into the city to learn through museum visits, walking tours, other class lectures while you're out and about. So, just picture like walking through the cobblestone streets of Florence, while maybe visiting a museum and like learning about the art that you're standing in front of, not just, seeing a picture of it. So very immersive experience. And then, of course, your time abroad is also going to make you stand out from the crowd. Whether it's in a resume or in a job interview, you're always going to have an interesting story to tell. And fostering those relationships with your professor is also a great way to get those recommendations later on. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for a brief overview of international programs and what we offer. But now I'm going to hand it over to Majel to kind of show you how to pick the best program for you and how to, set up further advising appointments if needed.
All right. Thanks, Zoe. Yeah, so we are doing our countdown to adventure for our summer 26 study abroad program. So these applications are going to open on October 8th. Um, you can learn just general academic information right on the homepage. You don't have to click anywhere else. So if you click on the students page, that's where you can find general academic information. And I think a lot of times students don't realize what this students page is and all the good information that's on it. So we'll take a quick look. Right here on the academics tab on our website, it does list some just general information about academics with international programs, such as courses will be used for summer residency, as Zoe mentioned earlier, that they cover FSU credit, these types of things. So also it does tell you what the length of the program and how that determines the minimum number of credit hours. So that's usually a question that I get asked often is how many hours do I have to take? It's right here on that student's page for academics. So the minimum hours is posted on our website. And again, our programs are split into two types, broad curriculum or curriculum focused in the summer. Broad curriculum, these are at the study centers and at the branch campus in Panama. They do vary based on the length of the program. So Florence and Valencia have 6-week or 12-week programs. London is split into 4-week, 8-week, and 12-week programs. And then Panama is only the full semester. So again, if you're doing a 6-week program, on our website, we tell you that if it's 5 to 8 weeks, the minimum number of credit hours is 6. So minimum 2 classes. And then the curriculum focus programs, the length of these programs will vary. Some are shorter, some are only a couple weeks. Others are fit within some of these broad curriculum dates, so they could be a 6-week or an 8-week program. But the program dates themselves do get shared on our website, and our website is updated now. So we have most of our arrival and departure dates up on the website, and we'll take a look at some of those later. But again, this is where you can find that minimum IP credit hour requirement. So as I mentioned before, there are two types of programs. So broad curriculum programs. So on these programs, you can take a broad range of course options. These can satisfy requirements for your major or your minor, or if you still have graduation or core FSU general education courses, this is a good place to go abroad in. Here you can pick and choose your own courses. So you can choose, maybe one course for your major and one course for core FSU, or one course for your major and an elective, or however you want to select your courses, you can do that on broad curriculum. And they're highlighted here on our website. And then the curriculum focus programs, these are faculty-led programs, and the courses are within a particular area of study. So for example, applied politics and policy in England, those are going to be political science courses. So you won't be taking biology courses on that program. Likewise, if it's biology in London, you're taking biology courses, you're not going to take communication, etc. So the courses for curriculum focus are decided for you, and um, we'll show you a difference of like whether you are required to take all of them or if you can choose one or the other. Um, so it's really important if you're interested in curriculum focus that you check the course list first. So we'll go over that in just a bit. All right, so I'm actually going to switch over to the website. Is my screen still sharing? Yeah, okay, great. So this is the international programs website. It's international.fsu.edu. Again, this is where that students tab was. It's right here on our homepage that we were looking at earlier. And then the list of all of our programs is here in this bar at the top. So programs is where you go to check all of the programs. Again, spring break is open now, but right underneath it is summer, and this is where all the programs are listed. So if we were to click, say, Florence Broad Curriculum Program, it brings you to the program page. And on the program page, there's a description about the location and the program. And there's also those arrival and departure dates. So as you can see, our summer 26 dates have been posted on the website, as well as the program fee. So if you're wondering how much it costs, it's also here on the website. And also the information about when applications open is here as well. Sometimes I think this is as far as students get on this page, but there's still good information on it. So if you continue to scroll down, there's a little bit about eligibility, housing, the style of housing, what kinds of possible excursions or group activities you can participate in. And then finally at the bottom here, that program fee. A lot of students ask like, how much does Bright Futures cover? Or, you know, what is included in that? And it's right here on our website. Um, so things that are included like the courses, housing, health insurance, all those excursions and activities, etc. And then also what is not included. So that is right here on the description page. Right next to it is the courses tab. So courses is where you can see what is being offered for that semester. So you have to click over to summer. And again, the FLO1, FLO2, that you can check with the chart here. So FLO1 is the first 6 weeks. So we'll just use that as an example. So if you know that that's the session that you most want, you can check the courses by clicking on the FLO1 button. So these are the courses that will be offered on that session. We tell you the course, the title. If you click on the plus sign, it'll give you a course description. And then also we'll tell you if a course satisfies a graduation requirement and then how many credit hours it is. So again, this is a 6-week program, so you are required at minimum to select 2 classes from this list. You have to take the minimum that is required for your program in person. So you cannot substitute the minimum with any online classes. So I'm seeing a couple questions that are more financial. We are hosting a financial aid info session. So I won't be answering any financial aid questions in this. But if you do have questions, you can go to the Money Matters tab here, which is right next to courses. The email is ip-financialaid@fsu.edu. There's some information about Bright Futures, Florida prepaid scholarships, etc. I won't go into detail on that because like I said, we have another info session coming up. But if you have any questions, some of them could be answered by this page. So make sure you're not just looking here, but you're checking courses, you're checking financial aid information. And then the last tab that I'll show you on our website is the dates and docs tab. This kind of gives you the overall timeline for the application process. So again, applications open on October 8th, and then there are some more dates to do with payments on this page as well. So I'll show you in comparison a curriculum focus program. So again, if we go to programs, summer, we'll do one in Italy just for direct comparison. So here is Food and Wine in Tuscany. So this is a curriculum focused program. It is a hospitality program, although if you scroll down, you'll see that you don't have to be a hospitality major. You do have to be at least 18 years of age to go to Florence, though, so there is another eligibility here. But again, if you're on description, information about housing, ac activities, program fees, and then courses, you'll notice that this list is a lot shorter than the one that I just showed you. So on this program, students take both of these classes. That's because it's a 6-week program. You take 6 hours, so you will take both of them. And you cannot take any other courses in Florence. These are the only two that you're able to take, even though you're going to be living with broad curriculum students. So that's the main difference. Broad curriculum, you can pick and choose which courses you want to take. A curriculum focused program, it is decided for you. So yeah, and again, Money Matters tab stays the same, Dates and Docs tab stays the same. So this is where you can find information about our programs. I'm gonna hop back over to slide and just talk a little bit more about when choosing your summer courses. This is mostly for broad curriculum. Again, because that you can't really choose them on curriculum focus unless there's a, I'll explain. But when you're choosing your classes, if you decide to do broad curriculum, some things to consider would be your academic requirements. So these could be for your major, for a minor, for a language. Again, any core FSU, graduation requirements, gen eds. That's something to consider. Also, if you have any other academic or cultural interests that are outside of your major, summer is a pretty good time to go and explore those things. Typically, you don't have any milestones in the summer, so that means you're not tied to taking certain classes in that term. So you can kind of be a bit more flexible with what you take. And then lastly, when you're looking at the course list, maybe come up with a couple backup options. Again, it's 6 credit hours minimum for, this is Florence broad curriculum again. So that means you're only 2 classes from this list. But if one of those classes is, say, International Wine and Culture, that's one that a lot of students would like to take, and unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to allow all the students to be in that class. So maybe have a couple others as well. Maybe Italian cinema is also interesting to you, or the art history class is also interesting. So it's always good to have a couple backup options. Just thinking ahead. Um, Flipping to curriculum focus programs now, I'll explain a little bit of what maybe sounded confusing before. But if you are interested in a curriculum focus program, whether that is food and wine in Tuscany or hospitality in Switzerland, or for example, here, this is our Taking Family Science Abroad program in Valencia. You really need to check the courses. I can't stress that enough. They're mostly that is because on these programs, again, you're required to take them. So if you have already taken them, it's not a good idea to apply to the program, right? So you can't retake parenting if you've already taken it. So this would not be a great fit for you. There are some programs, these are mainly going to be in London, or these shorter, like 2 to 4 week programs. You only take one class. So for example, communication in London has 2 classes that are offered on the program. You're only going to select one of them, and you can tell that by the little asterisk that's next to the title. That denotes that you can only take one of the classes. So you're only taking 3 credit hours. So here, if you've already taken public speaking, you can still apply to the program. Why? Because you can take the special topics course. So if you have any questions about your course history, whether you've already taken something, maybe you can't remember if you took something, please do ask. There's plenty of time between now and October 8th if you're considering a curriculum focused program to ask these questions about the courses that are offered on the program, so that you don't accidentally apply to something that ultimately you've already done the courses in. So please do reach out to us if you have any questions about whether or not a program's a good fit for you academically, in case you might have already taken the courses that are being offered. Again, like I showed you on the website, before you apply, read through the other garnet colored tabs on the program page. Again, there's information about financial aid, the timeline for applications and whatnot. There's also information about health and safety, some immigration information. So make sure that you're checking everything just in case you have questions. And also on these pages, the appropriate IP email is also listed on them. So again, financial aid information can be directed to this team rather than say the academics, because I'm not the right person to ask about those questions. So, but if you do have questions regarding academic requirements, courses, programs, what types of courses you're required to take, anything like that, you can use the links that are listed on this part of the website. So again, this is back in that students tab under academics. There's links for Zoom drop-in hours, appointments. You can email IP-academic advising with any specific questions that you may have about your own like requirements that you have remaining, or if you need to schedule an appointment and outside of the hours that are in Campus Connect, you can also email and we'll work something out. Lastly, before we start to wrap up, we do international internships as well in the summer. So these are available at the study center locations, so Florence, London, Valencia, and Panama. You get to do work experience. You also take classes while you're over there. On our website, we have a list of where possible placements could be for certain locations. If you're interested in an international internship for the summer, please do email ip-intern@fsu.edu to set up a meeting and to learn more about those. I won't go into too much detail on them because they all have slightly different eligibility requirements, and it would just be, I think, too much for this. But please do reach out for if you're interested in an internship, and we can discuss those requirements. But I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I'll jump back in here. I do want to, before we get into some of your questions that we have for Majel, we also want to just highlight that we know it's always tied into academics is that financial aid. So we do have a financial aid info session. So by coming to this info session today, you're getting that $500 airfare scholarship entry. If you come to that one next week, you'll get a second entry. So that will increase your chances there. And that's going to be also next Thursday at 1 p.m. So same time, also on Zoom, that first QR code is going to take you to the registration for that. And that's going to be with our full-time financial aid advisor. So definitely check that out. And then that second QR code is just if you want general updates, information about the summer 2026 applications opening. It's a super quick form, just like your name, email, one or two other questions. And that's just to stay up to date. And then, of course, we always have our social media linked at the bottom there. If you haven't checked it out, definitely look at our Instagram and YouTube specifically, because you're going to see videos there that are created by current students abroad. So if you want the student perspective, that is the place to go for it. But I also know that a lot of you had some questions, so we've kind of answered a few of them here, but we also have some questions for Majel to answer kind of live. So one of the questions, Majel, was basically if the students are only seeing like one or two classes that still fulfill requirements that they need, if they want to take fun classes just because, should they talk about that with their advisor? Or like, is it an option to take some classes just because they sound interesting and they don't necessarily meet any graduation requirements?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the summer is a bit more flexible. If you look on your academic map, on the FSU academic map, typically it doesn't tell you what to take in the summer. So, my advice is to, if you're doing a program where you take at least two classes, broad curriculum, try to at least do like maybe one class towards a requirement and then one class kind of fun. Obviously you don't have to follow that, but typically it's good to at least be thinking like, okay, I have this as an option to take for my major if I need to. Um, I see another question that was just tangentially related to that is like, do we meet with advisors to set up our schedules? Um, that I think you mean schedules as in like course planning for summer. Yes, you should always meet with your advisor when you're planning to take classes in a semester. It's always good to let your advisors know that you are planning on study abroad. Especially as we get ready to hop into the spring 2026 course registration already. I know it's crazy. But when you're planning your spring schedule, if there's something available for you to take abroad in the summer, you want to let your advisor know so that when you are planning your spring schedule, you don't take that class because you could take it in London or you could take it in Valencia, for example. So yes, you should let your advisor in your major know that you're studying abroad, so you can have those conversations about what courses are offered at the program location that you want. So that was a great question.
Great. I think, let's see, the next question here that we have is what program do you recommend for a hospitality major who wants to go to Valencia? So that's a little bit specific. I don't know how you want to answer that one, Majel.
Well, so we have well let's take a look just briefly because I feel like this might be a common hospitality can be quite popular. So if we look at the courses and broad curriculum for Valencia, you'll see that there's one class in VAO1 and that's it. So if you're going to Valencia to take major related courses as a hospitality major, and again, this class is going to be popular because it has the word food in it, and we don't designate certain number of seats for certain majors. Like all of our classes are open to anyone. And I think I had this on a slide and I didn't say it, but there is no priority registration for international programs. So this means it doesn't matter if you're a senior, it doesn't matter if you're an honors or any other program that allows you to register early on main campus. With international programs, we only open courses on one day and it's to everyone. So if you are interested in Valencia as a hospitality major, chances are you're not going to be taking hospitality classes. But if that's okay with you and your hospitality advisor, then by all means, um, you can still apply. But we do have other hospitality programs. I showed one earlier, the Food and Wine in Tuscany, and there's also hospitality in Switzerland. So there are other programs where you do take hospitality classes and are guaranteed to take hospitality classes. So again, this is the balance between where you want to go and what is being offered in those locations. So, but yes, that was a good question.
Awesome. Another question I'll talk about really quickly here is someone asked, can you describe the application process? What should we prepare to complete on 9 a.m. at 10 on 10/8? So we are also having, in addition to that financial aid info session next week, we are having an info session a little bit later on October 2nd, I believe, and that's called Student Success Abroad, but it's going to be all about the application process and kind of how to prep a successful study abroad application and all the stuff you have to think about, what the application looks like, all of that. So I don't want to get too much into it today because we do have a whole sort of info session all about that. But it's a pretty quick application. It's only going to take you like 15 minutes or so, and you will have to submit a $100 application fee that's non-refundable as part of that application. But if you want to learn more about the application process, things to consider, all of that, definitely register for that next info session coming up.
All right.
All right. And that one, oh, sorry, I see another question about that info session. That's on 10/2, if that's the Thursday. I believe, and that's going to be at that same 1 p.m. time. So the same time. So definitely check that out. And that's going to be, if you want to register for any of these info sessions, if you go to our homepage on the very like front page on your computer, not necessarily the mobile view, it's going to have like a web slider that's like Countdown to Adventure. If you click that, it has all the registration links for all of these different, yeah, right there, all of these different events. So you would just click on that link and then it would kind of show you.
I see some questions about some of our pages that don't yet have dates or courses available, we are in the process of getting those up as soon as possible. So I believe there's a question about New Zealand and South Africa, and then classes for Switzerland, hospitality. Are they up yet? They are up now.
Yeah,
So
so Switzerland hospitality's up. I don't know if Switzerland, the communications program is up
communications
yet.
might not be out yet.
Yeah, so all of those programs, we're still just working behind the scenes to get those up. We're hoping in the next week or so. But yeah, if you see courses offered on the website, everything listed up there, that's going to be all the courses that are offered for those programs. So again, those curriculum focused programs are going to be a little bit more specific. They're going to have the, less course options available. And then the broad curriculum are going to have more of those options.
Mhm. Um, let's see. I think um there's a question here about excess amount of credit. So yes, so that's something to consider. The question is, if I take credits that don't fulfill anything, could that cause an issue later down the road? Like if I have an excess amount of credits that aren't covering any requirements. So again, this is where you want to bring your major academic advisor into the picture. Um, if you are getting close to your excess credit threshold, um, you'll have to carefully choose which program and how many credits you're required to take on that program, or if the program has courses that can meet a requirement, or if it's just going to be extra on top of it. So that's when you bring in your major advisor into the picture. It depends on the student's individual situation. So again, if you have more questions that are specific like that, email us or contact your major advisor, um, and we can iron out those details later on. There's a question, what is the recommended number of classes to take in a month-long study abroad program? So again, I'm going to go back to that students tab. It's not so much what's recommended, but what is allowed. So again, if it's only a month long, so if it's 4 weeks or less, you're only taking one class, 3 IP credit hours. Also, you can find the maximum number of hours on the program page. So minimum is in the students tab, maximum is on the program page. So if it's only again, like a shorter program, this one's even shorter than a month. Um, Instructional cost for 3 undergraduate or graduate credit hours. So we'll tell you here in the included. For a program that's a little bit longer, like Broad Curriculum Valencia, if it's a 6-week session, you can take up to 10 credit hours, or if it's 12-week, up to 16 hours. So we do also tell you that information on the website as well. So you have to take the minimum. So you have to take whatever it says on that student's page abroad. This has to be done abroad. So it has to be at least 3 credit hours abroad or at least 6 credit hours abroad. Um, um,
I have a couple here. So one was again just asking about like the prices for New Zealand and the South Africa program. Just a quick note about the South Africa program. You can kind of see it on the website, but that's a CARE specific program. So that is for the Center for Academic Retention and Excellence. So if you're not part of the CARE program, you will not be eligible for that program. So even though we don't have any info on the web, I just wanted to note that. The New Zealand program is open to anyone. It's a hospitality specific program, but anyone can go do that program. So that
look at
price
that.
is going to be up there soon, hopefully in the next few weeks. They're just still trying to get some quotes on activities and things for that. But I just wanted to acknowledge that really quickly. And then there's also a question here about applying to multiple programs. Like, could I apply for a broad curriculum program and an internship? I do want to reiterate or just say here that you can apply for multiple programs if you intend to go on multiple programs. So if you want to study abroad twice next summer, great, go for it. That's fine. But if you just are trying to like up your chances or something, we definitely do not recommend doing that because you're going to have $100 application fee per application, and that's non-refundable. And then anytime we see that you've applied to multiple programs, we're going to reach out to you and say like, hey, was this an accident? It's going to slow down the application process, and then it also just doesn't help with the capacity for the wait list. So just make sure that, if you apply to a program that it's the one that you really want to go on. But yeah, you could absolutely do multiple programs as long as they're not overlapping in dates or anything like that. And yes, the applications are first come, first serve. So if you apply early, as soon as you submit your application, it gets like a timestamp on it, and we will admit first come, first serve in that time. So for some programs, they're going to be more popular than others. So of course, our like Valencia, Florence programs in the first part of the summer are often very popular. So you'll want to just log in as, that morning and make sure that you're submitting your application right away. And if you get on the wait list, we'll give you options for that as well.
Um, I think I saw a question about online classes. I'll just answer this in as a general statement um, for international programs. Um, Online classes are not included in any program fee, and they have to be taken in addition to whatever the minimum required credit hours are. So, say you go to Florence for 6 weeks, you're required to take at minimum 6 IP credit hours, so 6 hours from the course list in Florence. If you decide you want to take an online class in addition to that, that's your prerogative. You can do that, but it's not going to be included in the program fee. It has to be in addition to the 6 hours minimum. Also, you are responsible as the student to schedule any proctored exams on your own. And then also, of course, online classes should not interfere with any of the mandatory program elements, such as your classes, mandatory excursions, excursions in your classes. You cannot miss any of those things because you have work to do for your online class. So for that reason, we don't recommend it, but of course, we know that it happens. But just keep in mind that it's not included in the program fee and you have to still take the minimum hours abroad. Um, let's see. Again, I see a question about do you meet with your major advisor before IP? It really doesn't matter. As long as if you have questions for both of us, whichever order is best. Um, Again, if you come here first, then we can look at the course list and you can take that information back to your major advisor. Or if you've already looked at classes with your major advisor and you come to me and you say, hey, I have a plan to take these classes, what do you think? Then we can talk about that as well. The order doesn't really matter, but it's still good to include your major advisor in these conversations because it will affect, again, your spring 26 course registration and then also summer 26 too.
Great. I'm seeing not any more questions unanswered in the chat. We'll give everyone another minute or two in case you're still typing in there, but feel free to log off. Like I said, from attending today, you'll get an automatic entry into our $500 airfare scholarship. And definitely check out those additional info sessions where you can register to learn more about financial aid and how to submit a successful application. And I'll just put that link in the chat there. It has a document that has links in there where you can register for those info sessions and learn some other ways that you can also get additional entries to win that $500. Okay, let's see. We have a couple more questions here.
Excess credit, someone said, do you know what the excess credit threshold is, or is it different between majors? It's not different between majors, but basically, so it's 120 hours typically for most majors at FSU. Some majors are an exception to that, but you are able to enroll in 120% over that amount. So you can take 144 is usually the typical excess threshold, 144 hours. If you go over that, then you start to get charged for per credit hour over that amount. So if you have any questions about that, please do reach out to your major academic advisor because they have all of that information. They can see how many credit hours that you have left. But again, that is dependent on the student, dependent on the major a little bit. So most students are not at that level. It's only if you've retaken classes or withdrawn from classes too late, those types of things. So just you can meet with your advisor about that. There's a question, do you have to meet with an IP advisor before studying abroad? No, you don't have to. But you should be looking at the website prior to application. Because if you meet with me, we're just going to kind of go over again what we talked about today. We'll look at the program pages that you're interested in. We'll look at the classes. We can talk about application, questions that you may have or general questions about the program. You don't have to meet to do that on your own. But if you have questions, you want to talk to a person, you're more than welcome to come to drop-ins or make an appointment. Only taking a few classes that don't count towards requirements should end up being okay in general. Yes, again, it depends on the student. So if you are concerned, that is when you want to meet with someone. So if you're concerned, come meet and we'll talk about it. Or meet with your major academic advisor and get information from them as well. Those are good questions.
All right, I think that's the question slowing down, but again, we put it in the chat if you want to register for those next upcoming info sessions, and then you can always reach out to Majel to schedule one of those appointments at ip-academicadvising@fsu.edu. And that info's on our website, and yeah, so if you have any other questions, just email us there, and thank you so much for attending today.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.